me for another episode of Starseed Activations. And so, today I'm just going to pull an affirmation card for us first. It's going to be completely random. So, I like to do this. And this is actually a beautiful one. Today I feel good. Today I know deep down that I look good, feel good, and I am a good person. And so that one is super fitting for today. Yeah, that was a perfect one. So some of the topics that we are going to discuss are overcoming self-limitations and being born with magnetic attunements. And so that one I have direct relationship with or experience with, I should say. We're also going to talk about 0-point manifestations, which is a combination of using your masculine energy as well as the feminine energy, tuning into the earth as well as the water, and then going inside the heart center to the 0 point. And so when we combine all 5 of these things, it actually activates our energy grids to the 3rd degree, which allows us to manifest into a higher frequency. And so that's really important, because if you really want to manifest your goals, wishes, dreams, desires, anything, and it doesn't even matter how small it is, if it's something that you really hold dear and something that you really wish to manifest, it can be done in a safe, positive way where it's going to benefit every person. And so each one of us is strictly encouraged to follow our dreams. And so the dreams may include it could be anything, and it doesn't matter how silly or how big. Or remember, every thought that you have is real somewhere in the solar system. And so even a child drawing a photo of a monster, that monster can exist on another planet somewhere out there. And so we have to realize that each one of the stars that we see is like a sun. And so it's like a ball of gas that's giving off life. Each one of those can have its own planetary bodies rotating around it, just like we see in our solar system. And so for each sun or star, we can see a whole universe. And so imagine how many people are up there. It's billions upon trillions. And how many people do we have on Earth? Billions. And so when you take this into consideration of how many people are actually up there, anything that you can conceive, or you are downloading the thought image, or even just sketching out an image, like, it has a potential to be real somewhere. Otherwise, you wouldn't be downloading that thought complex, because every single thought is real. The second that you have the thought, it can be manifest. And so that actually goes into the author code. And so the author code is, each and every one of us are authors of our own life. And you have to realize that your life is a frequency. It's a band of frequency waves controlled by each chakra subsystem. And so when you start going inside, you're making changes to your biological frequency, the star people are saying, you can actually change or shift your perception in one or multiple areas of your life. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just going to do a quick energy clearing. So I feel, let's just clean real quick. Okay. This is, I put my big crystal up. This one helps a lot. Okay, excellent. Yes, I did do my wards before I turned my computer on. I know some of you guys are probably like, did she do it? I did. I totally did. Every time. Yes, hello. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Okay, so let's see. Where was I? Okay, and then the third topic we're going to cover is navigating the holographic simulation. Now, many of you guys are elite light workers. Elite means extra light. That's all it means. It just means that your frequency holds the potential to activate extra layers of your energetic grid structure, which then in turn is going to allow you easier manifestation into the physical reality, the star people are saying. Is there anything specific the star people want us to contemplate or put more focus on? Yeah. And so the star people encourage each and every one of us to follow our hearts. And that's a really, like, even when you say it, it's like, okay, what does that mean? And so what makes you happy, joyful, and excited? That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to do that as much as you can, because that is the key to going into 5D. And so the more happy and joyful, and you can tune into the bliss frequency, the more you do that, the higher your frequency raises. And so even if you're, let's say you're walking through your trauma and you're walking through your shadow work, you're trying to heal yourself, right? The more you can laugh during that process, that laughter raises your frequency. faster than any free pass that you can use. A free pass would be like eating organic, eating raw foods, or saltwater baths. And saltwater baths is great. They always recommend everyone to do that. And so, yeah, everyone works on manifestation because it's going to come to a point in which we're able to do it instantly. And so we should keep working on manifestation, and we should be consciously focused on doing that daily. And it comes, you have to really use a 0 point, because the 0 point is like, that's the best way to do it, really, because you're using all of your energies, and you can even call in all of the elements: earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Ether is the fifth. The fifth element is directly inside you, because there's 6 Kundalini channels. And so the reason why they say 5 is because 2 of them are basically connected. You have a light channel that goes down the center of your body. That is light matter. And so it's surrounded by dark matter. This information came from the star people, from me. So what they said is, when you use that channel, it activates the 0 point, which is inside the heart chakra. And so now what does this do? It forms a cross, they're saying, because your heart chakra comes out to the front, it goes out to the back. This tube goes directly down the front. So if you looked at the side of us, you would see a cross in the energetics. And so when you activate this, then all of a sudden, it's going to have an effect on the 3 different layers of your energetic grid structures. And then when that becomes activated, it allows you to see and visualize and perceive whatever it is that you wish to manifest instantly in the now moment. So going into the 0 point is something that we are able to play with. And this is important because you want to get the feeling of the codes, the emotion codes specifically. And so I want you just to imagine that you are pushing love-based emotions out your heart chakra. And so we know how that feels, right? If you have any blockages, those have to be dealt with first. And so when you don't have blockages and you've done that, you can feel this energy pulse. It's like your muscles will kind of tense in a little, and you can feel the energy pulsing out of your heart. Now, play with this, because when you go through the back of the heart chakra, that's your sadness, and that's your fear. And so, but you can actually tune in. Now, did you see how my shoulders dropped forward a little bit and my body hunched over? That's because I was pulsing at the back of the heart chakra. And so that happens naturally, right? When you are love-based, your shoulders, everything becomes straight, and your heart, your chest opens up. When you are fear, your body language shifts. You become down a little more. And so this is a natural part of body language, because your emotional expression, the way your energy is flowing, has everything to do with how your physical form is represented in the physical reality, they are saying. And so if you see someone and they may have, let's say they have a lower back issue. That's what I had. And so they may be hunched over. And so their energy is not flowing completely straight up the spine. And so you can see that they're having a blockage in the root chakra. And so when you take a look at, we say the phrase, oh, that's a stand-up kind of guy. And that's because his energy is flowing correctly. When somebody lies, cheats, or steals, it causes blockages in the throat chakra. So they're not going to hold their head up high. Their energetics isn't going to flow straight. They're going to kind of be a little hunched over, just like you're doing with fear. It hunches you. Each body expression is an expression of the source frequency, which is your energy come down into the body, and then the way that you represent your energy. And so we have spoke before about wrinkles on the face, and how each one of the lines on the face is an emotion code and can be healed. And so a lot of people think that wrinkles on the face are pertaining to old age. That's not the case. That's not the case at all, because some people age and then they don't have wrinkles. And then some people are very young and they have a ton of wrinkles. And so when you start to notice the lines on the face, you really want to start to unpack them. What do they mean? And so what side of the face, right? If you could draw a line. So what does that mean? The right half is masculine energetics. The left half is feminine energetics. And you take it from there, okay? And then you have to start to unpack things. So different lines, different areas. Different lines, different areas will have different effects. And so just be aware, because when you start to unpack these things, you can actually tune into different traumas. And the traumas that you tune into could potentially be from your childhood, as well as your any past, present, or tense. So yeah, this is wonderful. What do the star people have to say about the animals walking in circles around the planet? the magnetic sphere is off balance. And so you can take a look at the magnetic poles, and those poles have been shifting. And so there's a lot of whales that are losing its way, or they're showing me dolphins and whales, because there's hematite and magnetite crystals inside the brain. And so those give us our sense of direction. And when we have a sense of direction, it tells the whale specifically where to travel. So those are also their breeding routes. And so when the magnetic poles are starting to shift, it's throwing them off balance, which then in turn is causing all sorts of chaos. Some of the birds as well. You may have noticed that the birds were chirping and tuning at 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's not normal. That has everything to do with magnetics, which actually is that's our number one topic for today. So overcoming self-limitations and being born with magnetic attunements. And so magnetic attunements basically means that your soul chose to have an experience in this physical reality before you we'll go into scars. But your soul chose to have an experience prior to you manifesting here. And so each one of my sessions, for an example, the star people normally give them attunements to any extrasensory abilities that they may have. And so the extrasensory abilities are like metal bending, spoon bending, or if they can have an effect on lightning or weather. Those are extrasensory abilities. Well, the things that you have a magnetic attunement to could potentially be experiential, they're saying. And so many times you may have experienced darkness, or you may have walked through traumas. And some of that was pre-programmed before you manifested into the physical reality. Sometimes that's done specifically so that you will go through it and alleviate the ancestral karma for the entire lineage, they are saying. So now I can actually speak to that one, because when I was in high school, I was very anti-drug, totally anti-drug. And so everyone used to always think I was on drugs for some reason. And I didn't understand it. I was like queen of the dare, right? Do not use drugs. And so, but what they were sensing, or they were picking on to my magnetics, now that actually runs in the ancestral karma of my family. And so you have a history of drug use in my family. And so when one person comes along and clips the karma and starts to heal it, it actually clears that magnetic energy for the entire family genetics. And so this is another reason why many of you guys watching have been born into the families that you're in, specifically so that you can heal the ancestral karma. That is a normal starseed trait. And so we come into these families, and you know, some of us are from the Ascended Master group. And so you come into the families who are carrying a large amount of density, because you know, one at a time you could clip and heal all that trauma for the entire family. So you may have had multiple issues that you have gone through. So this is normal, actually. And not only that, but it's a good sign, because when you walk through all of that darkness and then you just take the time to heal it all, it's very rapid to heal for most of us. Some of us, we may get stuck on a topic. That's normal too. There's always one thing that can trip us up. However, most things is very rapid to heal. And so when all that stuff gets healed and processed, it actually allows us to slingshot into the crystalline frequencies. And so you have to realize the way the law of polarity works. See, when you dive into the darkness, the law of polarity says a frequency wave goes up and down, up and down. Imagine that there's a line directly in the middle of that. So that line in the middle is telling us the amount that you go into the darkness is the amount that you can go into the light. And so when you have all these people and we walk through such darkness, that's a blessing, because it's going to slingshot us into the light, which then in turn is going to allow us full activation of our extrasensory abilities, as well as the crystalline DNA systems. So this is really important, because many of us have come here to lead by example. And so if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. You have to do. And then you allow people to see you do these things, and then they can follow you. And so that's why each and every one of us, we should be focused on self-healing every single day. If you're here and you're in a physical body, you still have healing to do. That's the bottom line. It doesn't matter how healed and happy you think you are, right? Because at one point I thought, oh, I'm fully healed. No. You take 3 steps back when you think that way. You're in a physical form. If you were fully healed and you had zero attachment to the physical reality, then your light body would activate, and then you would be up in 5D. And so the monks do this now. And so they'll tell you it takes 10 years and you cannot have a single negative thought. When you don't have a negative thought for 10 years, they go into meditation, their bodies shrink down, and then their soul goes up to 5D. We don't want to do that though, right? So we want the easy way. And the star people said that the easy way is here. And so what we want to do is we want to prepare for the solar flash, because the solar flash is actually going to have an evolution on the physical form, which in turn is going to crystallize us. And so that means that we are going to be taking the physical body up to 5D with us, which is very important to do that. So what the monks are doing is a little bit different than what we want to do, right? We want to have our cake and eat it too, because they kept saying we want to be rock stars. And so imagine the physical body is the rock and your soul is the star. And so you want to fully embody both of those, because it's going to allow you to activate the teleportation abilities and all sorts of things. So having the ability to drop down into 3D. Now, just imagine that you're in the angel realms. Imagine that you're an angel. If the angels want to drop down into the 3D, they have to embody a 3D form, which means that they have to look in a 3D body. They have to have a 3D body, whether it be a cat, a dog, anything. It has to be a 3D body. So what we're doing is we're taking the 3D body and we're taking it with us up there to the crystalline realm. So that means that we don't have to drop down into the 3D and manufacture a form. We're taking our form with us. And then our form becomes like shapeshifter. So we're able to change or modify matter as per our demands. And so you go inside your programming subsystems and you say, okay, I want to have blonde hair. And then all of a sudden your hair changes. And so each and every one of us can start to do that now. Actually, there's certain hypnotists and certain meditations that you can do that allows access into the subconscious mind. And so if you start telling yourself, I have green eyes, one morning you're going to wake up and they're going to look green. Right. And so you keep doing that, keep practicing that, because it's training your subconscious. Now, be aware of anything that trains your subconscious mind without your permission. So like television, movies, binaural beats, some of them have negativity programmed in the under layers of it. A lot of times the television that we watch, it'll be an image with another image put on top of one another. So you won't see the evil image. You'll just see the TV show that you're watching. Now, what happens is your subconscious mind picks into all of that information. And so when the subconscious mind sees that, it actually triggers you into a negative emotional response. If anybody has ever sat there and binge watched on Netflix, how did you feel after a week of watching every single season to whatever show? You probably felt drained. And that's because the way the physical form works. When your body sees a negative image, your body fires off a fight or flight system activation. And so it tells your body, hey, there's danger. And even though we know it's only on a television set, your body doesn't know that. And so this is also how the mimic extrasensory ability manifests, because you have mirror neurons that are in the front half of the cortex. And so the mirror neurons is kind of like the copycat gene. And so what it does is it allows the human beings to pick on to like language. So the babies, they watch us and they watch the way that we speak, and then their mirror neurons fire up and then they learn. And this is also how, if you see anybody with an accent, the accents automatically get transferred because the mirror neurons are picking in. So when you start watching television shows, your mirror neurons are activated. Now, let's talk about how we could take that into an extrasensory ability, because it's pretty amazing. Just imagine for 1 second that all time and space, everything that you have ever seen is fully encoded into your memory grids every single second. So let's say, for an example, you're watching my video. Everything on the wall behind me, I have several different things behind me. And so your subconscious mind is going to remember all of these things. Consciously, you guys may not even see any of them. You may just see me and my glasses. That's it. And so that's fine. But your subconscious mind, it picked up everything. And so now when you reach a certain level of consciousness, then all of a sudden you're actually able to pull apart your memory grid and activate the mirror neurons. And so this is very important, because let's say, for an example, you get into a fight. We've all seen the Kung Fu movies, right? So the Kung Fu movies where they're and they're doing all this fun stuff. Well, then all of a sudden, in the now moment, your fight or flight system activates. It pulls the memory grid. It pulls the information in the now moment that you need, and it helps you manifest a way out of the fight. So that's just one example of how we can use mirror neurons. Now, take into consideration, a lot of times when the extrasensory abilities become activated right now, it's by activating the fight or flight systems. You have to have a very strong emotion to activate. And so take a look at the kid who picked the car up off of his grandfather. And so the car fell on the grandfather. So the kid's fight or flight system fired up. And then all of a sudden he was able to lift the car. He had a very strong emotional frequency, right? And so that's how we start to learn these things. So, and that's even one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to see maybe if they had one of those places you go and you break stuff and you just fire up your emotions in a safe atmosphere and just see what you're capable of, right? And so let's say you did that with your emotions while you're holding a light bulb. Now, I know I can make lightning, so we're going to try and see if we can turn on a light bulb, even if it's for a split second. And so some people can do this naturally with their chi energetics. This is all, you take your emotions and you're harnessing your energy and you're projecting it. And so each and every one of us can do this. We just have to try. And you just have to know that it's real and it's a possibility. Yeah, it feels like the solar flash is coming soon. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I believe that. I believe within 1 year that the solar flare will be here. Don't quote me on it, but that's just my belief, my personal belief. My understanding of suffering is going to be tested this week. It's everyone. I've been going through the anger. And so I've seen the anger fire off in one of my sessions. And like this was new to me because I never dealt with anyone with anger before. And it was multiple people. It was not just one. And so when I closed my eyes and I tuned into the energetic grids, I saw a static electricity. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, you'll see. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I found anger fired off in different aspects of my life. And I was like, this is crazy, right? And so that's right away, I went through and did a full energetic clearing. And so, yeah, to try and bring peace. But then my energetic clearings are never just on me. They're on me and then all of the people in my energetic grids, which are anyone that I've been interacting with recently. And so anyone who's of that frequency, I try and clear it for all of us because I see each and every person like we're a reflection. And so even you have like, you know, the dark forces or people who, you know, they want to like silence you or they don't want this information to come out. Like I even think about them and I send them love and life and gratitude. Right. And so when they're here and they're just doing what they're told, they don't realize. So many love and blessings. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Do you recommend any subconscious audios? I try not to do that because I don't know the people making the audios. And so I personally, I'm very careful with audios because I know where there's good, there's bad. You have good people out there who are doing things for the positivity of humanity. That's like me. And then, but you have people who are making the YouTube videos and they're putting subliminals in there to, hey, you want to listen every night, right? We don't want to be programmed with things like that. Or, hey, you want to give me money. So yeah, you just be careful. Astral projection, very, very real. And so I've done it. I pulled myself out of my body. I went into the center of the earth. Back then I was big on the conspiracy. So I was like, oh, the government has underground bunkers and bases and tunnels under our houses. So I went into the earth. Little did I know, because I didn't have a guide or an instructor back then. This was years ago. But, you know, my little understanding of maybe I'm just 1 foot underneath the ground and just couldn't see anything. I went right to the center of the earth, I believe, because there was molten lava and then there was beings of fire. And so I saw them. And then when I got down there, I panicked a little. And then I was like, oh, they can't see me, because I figured I'm in astral form. And then one of them turned around and tried to grab me. And that's when I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden I was back in my body and I felt like I was like, you know, terrified. So, but astral projection is real. And so I've done it. I've experienced it. There are beings who can see you. Now, everybody else says that you can't get hurt. And so that's probably true. I mean, the second I felt fear, I popped right back into my body. But who knows? They do have books on that now. I believe that there was a guy who he witnessed all of in the astral. And so he went and he wrote it all down. And so now you can go and you can read his book and he'll tell you exactly who, what, where, and why. Because he went everywhere and wrote everything. Except the thing is really funny too, because time space is never ending. The star people are saying it's always fluidity. And so when we read the book like that, we're actually manifesting from the book. That's part of the author code. And so that's part of a manifestation, because what you read, you have to realize that someone took a pen. When you take a pen, we don't think about this, but this is a writing tool. This creates an author. Anytime you write, you are an author of that work. And so when you take a pen and you write down a question, so this is part of tuning into automatic writing. You're taking your pen, you're writing down a question, you're expecting an answer, but you're holding no resistance. So if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. But it's the process of you just manifested that sentence on that piece of paper. It's pretty basic. But then what happens is, when you seek information, it will always come to you. The more you seek something, the more it will manifest into your physical reality. And so by taking your pen and writing down things like, I love my life, I have all the information I ever need. I activate my mirror neurons so that I can copycat extrasensory abilities that I've seen in movies 10 years ago, right? And so when you really use your creative mind, it turns you into the seeker. So when you seek, you shall find. We know this because this is how we manifest. And so write down things that you wish to seek. Thank the universe for giving them to you. And then write down any questions underneath. So I believe that we can activate our subconscious mind and have access into every single microsecond of information in our memory grid from the moment of conception. The star people are saying, I was going to say birth. He said conception. And so when you unlock that ability, become the seeker of it, right? So how do I do it, right? And then make a list, write it down. How can I unlock my memory grid? Your higher self is going to flow bright ideas through you. And so it's going to say, oh, try the breath work. And so you may sit down, try the breath work. My memory grid is now unlocked. My memory grid is now unlocked. Okay, did that work? No, I still don't remember my entire everything. Okay. So we tried it. Keep trying it. Now, take a pen, write down another thing. What else can I do? Oh, I can meditate. Okay, I'm going to meditate. Did it work? No? Okay, so what's the third thing? Give me some more things. You keep asking, you keep seeking. And then all one day, and it only takes one time, because the second you do it once, the belief system is unlocked, and now it starts to manifest into your physical reality. And so you only have to do it once. Now, all of a sudden, you try a third thing. Well, you can do yoga while you're doing the breath work. Now, all of a sudden, you start reading the ancient texts because you were directed and the synchronicities lined up so that the universe just magically put a book in front of you. And so now, all of a sudden, this book came, you started opening it, reading it, and you're like, oh, look, this man, he unlocked the genius code, and this is what he did. And he sat like this, and he put his hands like this, and then all of a sudden, he had full memory. So when you seek, you will find. What about sudden experiences that you were not seeking and that you tried to recreate and can't do? Did it come? You were not seeking the experience and it came? And then you're trying to recreate it? Like, what? You have to explain that a little more. QHH2. See, now so many people have brought that up to me. I've never researched any of that. I've seen a couple of Dolores Cannon on TikToks, which was like 3 minutes. That's it. I really try not to research. I let the Arcturians really flow the information through me. This way, it doesn't change my perspective at all. Now, years ago, hey, Fabio, years ago, I did do research on, I used to listen to the Gaia app. And so, yeah, I used to listen to them, but I never knew I was a channel. I was just one of you guys, right? So, I'm just listening. This is interesting. Hopefully I can fire some magic off. That's how I used to be. And to me, it was the most interesting thing in the entire universe. And I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine if everyone on Earth had these extrasensory abilities, right? And it was like putting together a picture. But actually, I was researching all this information before I found the Gaia app. The Gaia app was more like confirmation. Okay, you're not crazy because everything you just learned is now being confirmed. And so, but then once I realized in 2019 I was a channel, I stopped paying attention to all earthly metaphysical information. This way, I know my information is coming right from them. It keeps it clean. And so it is hard, though, because people are always trying to get me to listen to other channelers. And I'm like, I just can't do it. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, let's see. Hypnosis is amazing because hypnosis allows you direct access into the subconscious mind. And so if you can just imagine that all of this physical reality has a binary codex frequency, right? And so what is this? It hid the messages. I don't know what I touched. Imagine that the physical reality has a binary codex frequency. So everyone here has probably seen the movie The Matrix, when he finally opens his eyes and he sees binary. And so that's actually true. The binary, you start noticing, do the math on sacred geometry and quantum physics, because when you start to realize those two things, it actually opens your eyes a tiny bit, tiny, right? So you're like, oh, okay, there's a mathematical sequence behind every single item in the physical reality. So that's great, because that's the beginning stages of unlocking your perception. The more and more you start to see and meditate and really be at peace and know that everything is a frequency, it opens your eyes more and more. So this is a process of raising your frequency. It goes hand in hand. So the way that your energetics work, you have to clear the density off of your grids first, because when you're about to digest new information, you have to clear something old. And so it goes hand in hand with the solar energies. So you go through a spiritual week, you go through a physical week. So you get pulsed with each full moon to alleviate any density or karma off your energetic grids. What that does is it cleans the grids, allowing you to absorb new information, right? And so when you take that, then all of a sudden you cleanse your energetics, and then new information will come to you. So that new information, imagine that you're the one directing what information comes to you. Self-learning is actually going to be the wave of the new future, because someone who is really passionate and excited, they tend to self-teach themselves. And because of their excitement, it allows them to learn more information than those people who are being force-fed information. And so you just want to be aware. Yeah. Okay. Let me just take a second. How's everyone doing tonight? Yes, thank you so much for coming. I'm not too good at comments. I'm trying to read the comments, and I did something. So yeah, let's see. Sometimes when I'm in sleeping phase, I see a calculation about something that has to do with time. I can remember it for 1 second always, and then it is gone. Yeah, you probably have the timekeeper ability. And so there's some people who have time-space attunements. Now, if you took a look at how time flows, right? Time is a vortex. So this is how your energy, you see that vortex? See it? Kind of looks like a squiggly. That's actually how time-space flows. That's how everything flows. Everything is in a vortex energetic. And so the source frequency is flowing like that down through your physical form. Except there's a triangle in the center, and then it's spiraling like the DNA. And so everything in this reality works in vortexes or spirals. The toroidal field is a form of vortex, and then it's spiraling out and forming like an apple shape. The apple is like 2 circles. So it's like an infinity symbol. This is basic sacred geometry. So when you have a time-space ability, if you just imagine that one little mark on that spiral, right, on one of the spirals, and then all of a sudden it makes a cycle repeat that forms another little mark on the cycle above it. And so this is how the cycle repeats are formed. And so when you have any sort of ability, you can change that frequency of that vortex, right? So we all know that when you're really excited and happy, time seems to fly. A lot of times you guys on my videos, you probably don't even realize that 30 minutes has gone by, right? It feels more like 5 or 10. And so that's because most people get happy and excited when I start talking about this stuff. When you're happy and excited, time flies. When you're upset, depressed, or trauma, tragedy is about to manifest, time seems to go very slow. And so you take a look at the car accidents. When people are in car accidents, time seems to go so slow, but it's giving you extra time to have a look at everything in that perception or that experiential, they're saying. And so that gives you the time that you need you can make adjustments. And so a lot of times the martial artists, they know how to use their breath, and they could change the time, speed, frequency, which then in turn gives them the access to do different moves and defend themselves differently, because it's like their perception of time, space slows, allowing them to do faster movements, but it's like slow motion for them. And so we each can do this. Everyone can do this. This is a natural part of being human. There's nothing spectacular about it. We've all experienced this before as well. Who's ever played Let's Beat the GPS on the car? And so everyone on Long Island has it, I know, anyway, right? We try and see if we can beat it, even if it's only 5 minutes. And so now just imagine that now you learn about the frequency. And so all of a sudden, what are some ways that you can raise your frequency while you're driving? You could be really happy. You can listen to comedy. You could laugh. You could put some good music on. You could dance while you drive. Just do it safely. And then all of a sudden, block all the times. GPS time, block it off. Block the car time. This way you're not focused on the time. Your subconscious mind can't see it. And then all of a sudden, when you get to your destination, see how much time has passed. Did you beat the GPS? Did you beat the time? The happier you are, the faster it goes. And so we've taken 40, 45 minutes off of our trip before, just by being happy and positive and loving life. And so you guys can do it too. This is part of, also the star people are saying, this is also part of the beginning, level 1 of instantaneous teleportation gifts. Because when you're teleporting from this location to this location, time space has to be a factor. And so this is how their instantaneous teleportation technology works, because they take time, space, frequency, and they take your binary codex frequency, and they take a location and your experiential frequency, they're saying. So there's 4 frequency waves that they're taking into consideration. And then they take you and they pull you. Now, when they use that, they also have to pull at your memory complex, because your memory complex is like an octagon. It has 8 points on it. And so if you had a look at the star tetrahedron, I can never say that correctly. That's what that looks like. And so we may have all seen that before in the flower of life symbol, this one here. And so the flower of life symbol shows us that this is what our energetic grids look like a toroidal field. And so, but you take a look at it, it's also a square. And so a square, if you're taking the ends, it has 8 points. Those 8 points are your personality grid. This is your personality complex. And it's directly tied into your memory grid, because your memory has everything to do with your personality. Now, sometimes it's rare, but sometimes during sensual activities, your soul form or your higher self or your ego, everything's connected. If you shift the point of that octagon, it's fitting into the mind space. When you shift the point, it shifts your personalities. Your personalities have to be encoded with 8 different past lives. And this is where the whole past life thing comes into play. It's 8, because that's how many we can fit into the energetic grids at this time. The level up is going to be more instantaneous download of information. So your personality grid is going to change in the 5-day. You can actually download any personality, the star people are saying, in the 5-day. And so when you start to activate your personality grid, or you start to play around with your past lives or have a past life regression, what you're actually doing is you're taking your Merkaba field, which this is, and you're focused on one of the other points, healing one of the other points of your personality. And then all of a sudden, when you heal it, it makes the little point, that triangle, clean. And when that becomes clean, it allows you to heal. And then it has an effect on the energetic grid structure. And so you have to realize that your energetics have 3 different layers to them. And so now, actually, 144 came up in conversation too, a couple days ago. 144. Now, remember, I've been telling you guys for a while that there's a 12-pointed Merkaba above our heads. That's like a stargate, or the star people call it a key. And so you have to be in a frequency alignment to go through that key. So that 12, now think of the movie 12 Monkeys. We have 12 dark emotion codes in order to open and activate that key. And most of us have gone through many of these emotions as children or teenagers. And so, but then when we start to heal those emotions, it starts to unlock each one of those triangle points above our head. So when we go through the 12 lower frequencies, we heal them with the 12 higher emotion code frequencies. And then all of a sudden that unlocks. 12 times 12 is 144. So inside your energetic grids, there is also another reflection of 12. And so that has to be healed. Now, 1 + 2 is 3. 1 + 2 is 3. When you heal both of these things and you activate them, you become a master level 33 of the holographic simulation. So just be aware. What do you think about the firmament and the flat earth? That's a great question. And I've asked the star people this multiple times. And then I still didn't believe when they told me. First they tell me it's round, then they tell me it's flat. And then they're like, we're messing with you. It's a hologram. And I'm like, that's not funny. I need to know. And so they said, it is what you believe it is. And so a part of me feels, one, we've had people go into the astral realm, and the people who go into the astral realm, some say it's flat, some say it's round. And so what the star people are saying is correct. It's a hologram. It's not flat, it's not round, and yet it is flat and it is round. Now, my theory, what if the Earth is 10 times bigger than the size that we've been told? And that they're containing us to this little itty bitty area of the Earth. This is just my what if, right? And so the star people have not told me this. This is just crazy thinking from me. And so, but that would make a lot of sense as to why we can't see the curvature. So if they're telling us it's a smaller Earth, right, then the curvature would be very prominent. What if it's a bigger Earth? If it's a bigger planet, the curvature may not be that prominent. So, right? And it makes sense that it's round. But then they got us on that one because the science makes sense both ways. And so it just makes sense that the star people write it's a hologram. So what you believe, you perceive. And so they've actually told me this multiple times, especially pertaining to the pyramids. Because I'm like, well, what's written on the pyramid walls? And they're like, well, what do you want it to mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? Tell me what's there. And they're like, it could be there today, but tomorrow it will change or shift, or you can move it. You could change the location. You could change the energy. Like they're like, everything is fluidity because you are plugged into a simulation and you think it's real, but there's a binary codex behind every single piece of physical material. And then all of a sudden your consciousness can change or shift everything in the physical reality. So they're like, so following the science is great because it unlocks the belief system, which gets you to believe in your true divinity, in which you are the creator. You have the ability to change matter as you see fit. And so they're like, there's no limitation to that. So some species, and I don't like talking about this sometimes because some people take it the wrong way. However, it is what it is. This is one of those abilities. And so what the star people can do, which I've been telling you guys about, is they can take their consciousness and they can project it into a fly, and they can fly it all around, and they could dive bomb you, and they could play with you. We do this all the time. This is a normal in my life now. And so, hi, Karen. It'll be up for replay the second that we're done. Okay. And so, but they can also do this with people. And so now I try and put it like this, like, oh, if you're about to get hit by a car, they'll project their consciousness into you and like scoot you over so you don't get hit. Right. That's a positive. But the truth of the matter is that any ability can be used for light or dark. And so psionic abilities. Now, we've heard stories that a great alien was once crash landed down here, and the military came with their guns, and the great alien was like, not today, and he made them drop all the guns. So that right there, to me, I'm like, doesn't that violate free will? And no, it doesn't, because if those people had their psionic abilities so that you were protecting yourself, it wouldn't have happened. But a kind of free pass to manifest was they were vibrationally in alignment with having the experience. And so some people can mess with your consciousness. And so this information is going to be coming to humanity in droves. However, you have to realize that most extraterrestrials, they want us to evolve. And they are taking it's just imagine that there's a cool kids club, right? And they were all taking bets to see who can evolve first. And so the Arcturians work with me. So I'm one of their people, and they're like, maybe our people can evolve first, right? And so then you have the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians have a range of people. Some of you guys watching are Pleiadian, they're saying. And so they're saying, maybe our people go. So they kind of take bets, right? And so they do it like they're kids, but they do it with the love for humanity. They really want to see us evolve. Because when we evolve, we're going to evolve the planetary consciousness as a whole. And then in turn, it's going to save Mother Earth. Yeah. What about the grays? I've heard some of them are dark. I've heard that too. But then again, something even bigger than that is we have to overcome racism. And racism means every single race. And so even the grays, and I just had this conversation today, even the grays, they could be, for an example, not saying they are, but any race could be complete sociopathic, right? And so they could, by the power of God, they could have a male and a female, or two individuals, whatever. They could have people who magically spawn into their civilization who are love-based. And so that is the power of the source frequency. Because when the source frequency starts saying, hey, this species needs to be more positively aligned, the source frequency will start manifesting positively aligned people into their civilization. And then all of a sudden, it's a frequency effect that ripples out. And so we can all see how one candle can light an entire dark room. And so when you take that concept, then you know that all you need is a handful of starseeds, a handful of light workers on planet Earth to ripple out and change the consciousness grids into a positive polarity. And so who's to say that this has to be done by extraterrestrials? It can also be done by the source frequency. And so this is just how it is. So we are not supposed to be judgmental. And not only that, judgment, that's one of those points on the 12-pointed star. And so you have to overcome any and all judgments into the physical reality. The second that you cast a judgment on something, it gets cast back at you. And so me personally, I don't like to cast judgments. I'm okay with any and all experiences. However, that being said, I do ask each and every one of you to use your own morals. And if something is not in vibrational alignment with your morals, it is certainly okay for you to step up and do something about it. Because I know me firsthand, if I see something happening in front of me, like someone getting bullied or something happening or a child's involved, I'm going to do something. And so that's just me. And to me, I always like to consider it, we're doing the right thing. So yeah. How can we power up our healing gifts? So that's actually done through meditation. And so this actually goes back to the last question from the last live. Someone sent in a question saying that they were doing a meditation under a tree. And then all of a sudden the next day they had little mushrooms form. So you have to realize what's happening inside your physical form while you're doing the meditation. You are generating a vortex energetic. This is what a vortex energetic looks like. That squiggle. See it? And so the more and more you start to meditate, it squiggles that. Now take a look at the medical symbol. You have two snakes that are intertwining. But intertwining, if you took like intertwinement, that's a 2D representation of a vortex. Vortexes are circular, like your DNA, and it spirals up. They didn't know how to draw that correctly. So they took two snakes and they had them intertwine. What it actually is two vortexes. One is electrical in nature, one is magnetic in nature. And so when you start to know this, then all of a sudden you can go into a meditation state. You can call upon that vortex energetic. Remember, the magnet one comes down, the energetic one comes up. So you're actually turning yourself into an actual battery. And so the more and more that you practice this, the more and more it's going to tune into the Earth's magnetic grids. Some people are grid workers. Some people are vortex workers, which is calling the Earth energy up. And so the grid workers pull it down. Then they can even project through their energy. They can project it up. So, but it naturally flows a certain way. And the more and more you start doing this and you start going into your meditations. Now, when you have three people form that triangle. When you have three people, it's easier to do power of three manifestations with the three people. And so, but you have to have the opposite polarity gender. And so say 2 girls, 1 guy, 2 guys, 1 girl, because it completes the triangle. And so when you do this, then all of a sudden, let's say you guys are all doing manifestations to clean the ocean. That's one of my favorite ones. You come out of that meditation, and then all of a sudden you're going to start to see reflections. And so the reflections are going to be like, let's say, for an example, you did the meditation outside, you sat on the ground, you connected in, you generated your vortex, you did all the stuff, you said your manifestations. A lot of times when you were doing the feminine way of manifestation, you want to make sure that you're seeing green in the third eye. That's how you know that your brain waves activated alpha, and that means that your higher self fully connected in. Now, there's also a method of calling or coaxing the higher self into your physical form. And so that's pertaining to the magnetic, which is your emotional body. Think about the hexagram. You have a hexagram shape grid inside the heart. That's your emotion grid. So there's actually little crystals in the pineal gland that are also hexagonal in nature. And so your emotions directly tied into the pineal gland. But then those 2 chakras actually tie into the solar plexus. The solar plexus pulls the ether, the energetic structures in, and it supercharges the system and allows you to do energetic projection. And so that's important because when you're going in your meditations, you can practice doing that. See the green, synchronize the alpha brainwave patternings, and then project your manifestation, because your manifestation is what you want to see. And so just be at peace with it. When you see the green, you should receive a visual representation from the higher self. And that will basically be your sign. Oh, okay. The second that you see it, let the pictures flash, and then open your eyes, you're done. Because now you have just manifested from the heart chakra. And so when you do that, then all of a sudden it seals the manifestation into your energetic grids, which puts you in a magnetic vibrational alignment with that manifestation to come to you. And so when you do this with 3 people, it becomes very powerful. Now, 3 people can also project that love-based emotion or magnetic emotion along with the chi energetics, and they've healed people instantaneously. And so this happens, and they've actually done it on a sonogram. And so they can see tumors, cancer, shrink. I believe Greg Braden has a video on YouTube about that. So it's got to be floating online somewhere. And so he shows you. So if you look at that video, it's actually going to unlock the belief systems. So then try taking sick people, show them the video. Look, this is what's possible. We are beings of electrical magnetism. Show them the video, see if it unlocks their belief systems. You can even show them Greg Braden's other work. He's a scientist. Isn't he a doctor or something? Or he's got a PhD? So that's like a real person for the people still physically focused, may believe in him because he's got that piece of paper on his wall. So whatever you have to use to unlock their belief systems, do it. And then all of a sudden you pull a healing circle on them, right? And you surround them with crystals and you're like, look, this is going to work. And then all of a sudden you have to visualize them healed. And when you visually see them as healed, you don't have to visually see them as their age either. You could visually see them as 20. And so their gray hair may start to come back. And they may instantaneously heal different cancers, eye disorders, all sorts of things. And so, yeah, vortex workers, sure. So a vortex is the same as your DNA. Everything flows in a spiral. So if you take any plant and you watch it from the time it's a seedling until the time it grows up, it's growing in this type of spiral. And so a vortex worker is a name that they give for people who can pull this vortex energetic up out of the earth. And so those people, they actually coax it or call it, the star people are saying. And so what they do is they're using their own vortex energy that run inside the physical form to allow it to activate. Now, anytime you see a spring in nature, there's a vortex underneath the ground. And that vortex is actually making a levity. And that's the reason why the water is coming up. It's because something is pushing it up. It's not being sucked up. It's not going by gravity. It's being levity. It's being pushed up by a vortex. And so some people have the attunement that they can go put their feet on the earth and they can start to coax up a vortex. Now, this is very important because if you go into a forest and you have a vortex worker, the vortex worker can start doing this to certain trees. Let's say they know which tree, they put a little bow on the tree. So they're like, this is the one that I'm working on. And then all of a sudden they start pulling up a vortex. You're going to notice mushrooms form. And so this was another thing I was just talking about. Someone did a meditation under a tree. And then the very next day he had mushrooms right where he was sitting. And so that's because he was automatically generating a vortex through his meditation. And so we do it naturally, but you can pull it or coax it up. Each and every one of us has the ability. Some people have an attunement to make it manifest quicker. And so your belief systems, all the stuff has to be unlocked. Yeah. The star people, as I understand it, are extraterrestrials. That's channels. Yes. Greys are a race of extraterrestrials. Yes. The Greys are not included in the star people. And so most of the star people are, number one, they're Arcturians. And Arcturians is like my home planet. So I do have one Arcturian who's always with me 24/7. We joke and we laugh and we talk. I hear him like he's in the room with me. So yeah, it's cool. But I also communicate with the Magdalene Collective. There's religious figures, there's angels, there's a bunch of like really, really high frequency people. And it's funny because I didn't realize this when I started talking to the Arcturians, but they said a lot of the high frequency beings and angels and there's more interdimensionals and extra dimensionals, and they all are working together. And so the Arcturians go and they can have conversations with the angels and they can ask the angels to protect our planet. And so this is also how we may have seen a lot of doom and gloom or destruction. Like they tried to zombie virus us like 8 times, and star people working with the extraterrestrials and the angels. And then the angels came down and they were like, not today. And so it was all blocked. And so you have to realize that when we are vibrationally in alignment, right? So let's say that you have on this planet high frequency beings like us. Anyone watching this, you're automatically at a higher frequency, 11 light. Even if it's just a little bit, it doesn't matter. You automatically. And so when you have beings like that, then all of a sudden they're not able to cast upon the entire civilization and kill us all. And so I got to stop there because I was going to say something that would get me blocked. Yeah, we'll have to do that in a private chat. But there's some things that they are not allowed to do to the civilization because we are here. And so the more love that you hold in your heart, that basically is going to help the entire civilization, because it's going to change the attunement of the actual earth, which then in turn does not allow negative or lower vibrational experiences to manifest for all of us. And so that's the whole Starseed mission. We came here to hold a higher frequency to assist in the evolution of humanity. This is how it's done, right? By holding love-based emotions, by forgiving people who harm you. Are the Arcturians higher in population and able to connect? I didn't read the whole thing. There's a ton of them on their home planet and on ships. And so they actually want to make communication with every single one of us. Now, the levels of consciousness we're going to take the Arcturians for an example. So we always think, oh, well, their planet must be 6 or 7D. That's not the way it works. So here on Earth, you could see 3D consciousness level people. You could see 4D, which is they're just starting to instantaneously manifest stuff, right? They're all love and light, but then they may get angry or upset once in a while because they're still working on their stuff, right? And then you could see fully 5D. Fully 5D people, they walk through life without a care in the world. Their childlike minds are active. Everything that they need falls at their feet. They never get angry. They laugh at everything, even when nasty stuff happens to them. And all of a sudden, it's like they're encoded with this high blissful frequency of love and light. And so we have 3 different levels of consciousness here on this one planet. Arcturus is no different. And so they see everything from 5D, 6D, 7D, and he's saying slightly 8. Some of them are in 8. But when you're in 8, actually, when you're in 7, he's saying it starts to change the color spectrum. And so you may shift out. So you may be on the planet, but you're in a different frequency and many people can't see you. So that's when they come in and they use technology. Now realize, when we are discussing 5D, there's 2 different ways to achieve 5D. 5D means that you have access to instantaneous manifestation. Well, we can do that with the spiritual, which is feminine in its nature, because we are using our hearts to instantaneously manifest. Or you can use technological means. And so you could have replicators. Now, these are just 2 different paths to 5D. And so when we think about 5D people, there's a slight confusion where we think, oh, they must be all loving, caring, kind because they're instantaneously manifesting. That's not the case, because some extraterrestrials are in 5D, but yet they're using technological means and they are not all loving, caring, kind. And so you just want to be knowledgeable, because I question everything that you are told. And I'm a skeptic, right? So they give me information, I'm questioning it. I want to know how. Tell me how. Tell me how to break it down. Where can I find more information about this? How is this related to my life? How does it make scientific sense? Is it logical? Does it help me? Does it improve something? Don't give me any scientific or blueprints to make something that's going to harm people. I don't want to know, right? And so the information I do want to know is how I can change my life, how I can love more people, how I can be at peace with any negative experiences that happen to me, and how I can really go inside myself and how I can activate myself. And then I could unlock my extrasensory abilities, because manifesting stuff instantaneously is wonderful. Everyone should do it. It's a beautiful thing. And then not only that, but I swear to God, every time it happens, you jump for joy. And so this is something that they had me do with for example, with winning a lottery scratch off. And they said it's the emotion codes that manifest your experiences. And so let's say you win $1 on a scratch off, right? Normally I'd be like, it's only $1, throw the ticket somewhere. Right. And so they said, you can't do that, because you have to be happy and excited and grateful. And so when you fire off that emotion, even if you're doing a happy dance for $1 and you think it looks silly, right? We're screaming up and down, I want $1 million, I want $1 million, right? That emotion code encodes your energetics. And then all of a sudden you've just won 100. And then you've just won 500. And so the more and more that you fire off your emotions, it's going to change how you are manifesting, because you're encoding your energetic grids. So just be aware. And that's only one thing. Now, what happens automatically when we share and care with each other, right? There's a heart-based emotional exchange that happens when someone is happy and grateful that you just helped them. And so I always help people out of the goodness of my heart. But the truth of the matter is that when we do this more and more, it feels so much better than just stockpiling stuff for ourselves. And so my father used to yell at me because I'm like, oh, I'll stockpile food, but if the apocalypse happens, I'm going to be feeding everyone. He's like, you can't do that. You can. I can. And I will. And I'll always have food. Right. And so when you believe that, then you manifest it. And so all of a sudden, all this abundance in food, and you share and you care with everyone. And then, you know, we used to sit down and have block parties when I was a child. And so people did this, where everyone on the block would make a plate of food and everyone would hang out and care about each other and socialize. And so we really have lost that form of connection because the technological has divided us. Because now you see everyone go to work, working 2 or 3 jobs, coming home, sitting behind a TV. And so the whole civilization needs to kind of change a little bit. And so when you start to do this and you start to organize more things where you start to get to know your neighbors, see if they're nice, are they friendly? Can you guys have, you know, a nice conversation, have a plate of food together? And so you're changing your energetics, because the star people are saying you always want to be the change that you wish to see in the world. And so start with something small. Start saying hello to the people around you. When you go into the supermarket, take your headphones off. I'm famous for that. I put my headphones on, I don't want to talk to you. I get nervous, right? And so, but take them off. Take them off and look at the people around you. Make eye contact, right? Hi, how are you? Smile, right? How are you guys doing today? And so you start to have these conversations with the people around you, and you are shifting their energetics. Because if they didn't feel good or they have something on their chest, then all of a sudden you're showing them that you care. And sometimes some people, especially ones who are walking extreme darkness, sometimes they only just need one person to tell them that they love them. And so it doesn't cost anybody anything to tell a person that you love them, even if they're, you know, having a really hard time, they're having a rough life. It takes 2 seconds, and you don't know, it could change your entire life. So I encourage each and every one of you guys to be love and light to everyone that you see. And so the people who are not in alignment with it, it's funny how this works too, because I've seen this. Like, I'll show up somewhere, and then people who are negative, they'll be leaving right as I show up. And so that's a form of divine alignment that manifests when you are in alignment with the source frequency. And so it's like a protection. And so you're always in the right place at the right time to have a higher vibrational experience. And that's what I want each and every one of you guys to do. Because it's good luck magic. That's what I call it, because you're always in the right place at the right time to have the most amount of fun. And so just keep practicing that of being love and light, and allow yourself to come into alignment with the source frequency, and it will always put you in the right place. And then not only that, but everything that you need will fall at your feet. You have to release attachments into the physical reality. And so the star people are stepping up, and they're saying it's very important if you have an attachment, like say an attachment is, I can't live without this. So for me, once upon a time, it was cigarettes. I was a 20-year smoker. I put it down, and one day I never looked back. And not only that, some of my people on Facebook, you guys put it down with me. And I was like, damn, they quit right alongside with me. It was nice. So we had a little group going. And so I hope all of them still quit. I quit. And then, but when you quit the attachments into the physical reality, and this includes food. So this is why fasting is important, because it changes your energetic grids, and you're showing the hologram, I'm in charge. And so this is why I believe it is spoken in certain texts about a 40-day fast, walking through a desert. I'm not walking through a desert. I've done a 40-day fast, so I know what that's like. And so it changes your whole digestive tract. All that stuff changes. And so, but then it eventually changes back. But the experience is valuable, because when you go on at least a 3-day detox, and I'm talking even from the purchased water with the fluoride and the chemicals, and you have to watch, because even the water bottles, they're lacking minerals, and then it could still have fluoride in it, because people have done testing on the side and shown fluoride. And so you want to just watch, because things like remote viewing, astral projection, it becomes so much easier when your body is detoxified. So you want to just be aware. My guys gave me 40 days and 49 nights today in a message. See, I would never talk about 40 days. Like, that's not my thing. That's what they're talking. But yeah, it makes sense. And so, yeah, it keeps like putting a cover over the things, over the messages. Lost 10 kilograms, less body density, more light. Fabio, when was that? That's been since after our session. You see, my sessions, they do like a full energetic clearing on people. And I've seen people bend spoons. I've seen people meet the Arcturians. They showed up in the bedroom at night. Some people activated dreamwalker abilities. Like there's just so many people who step forward and they're like, oh, this stuff has changed. See, losing weight, you increase your IQ and all that stuff. All that stuff happens with the energetic clearing. I'm telling you, they're doing most of it. The star people come in and they stand next to you and they clear you. Each and every person watching this video, regardless of if it's today or in 10 years, ask the star people to come do an energy clearing because they will do it for you, right? And they want each and every person used to know you can communicate with them. They wish to communicate with all of us. No channeler. There shouldn't be one gatekeeper. Everyone should have the option to communicate. You have to realize, on this planet, we have billions of people. On their planet, they have billions of people. But we're not only dealing with Arcturian. We also have the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, Lyrians. So there's multiple people, angels, guides, star people. Magdalene Collective shows up. There's a bunch of religious figures as well. And so when you call upon the star people, you're calling that entire organization. They know it, they hear it, they know. And so the person that is most in vibrational alignment with your frequency, that's who you will get. And so a lot of times when I do sessions, your star family comes forward and they're like, we're the family, but then your guides will come forward and the guides are like, we're in attunement with them now. So we can make communication with them and we can get them up to the next level. And when you get up to the next level, your guides always change. So it's always where your level of consciousness is at and who can help you to unlock the next level. And so the level of consciousness is, imagine 1 through level 333, they're saying. That's in the 3D reality. And when you reach through all 333, then all of a sudden your energetics shift. And so it's just different perceptions. And you go through them rapidly. It's not very slow. But imagine every single experiential. So every experience that you can have in a human body, that's one of the 333. And then imagine experiencing it times 3. And so beginner, intermediary, advanced. So let's take the ice skating for an example. You could have an ice skater. Now you could be a beginner, intermediary, or advanced, or you can go professional. And so you can see there's different layers to the same exact experience. And so each of us is encoded magnetically to experience different experiences. And so, yeah, that's how the whole thing works. Follow the healing. Keeping the weight off has been easy. Yeah, very good. That's exciting to know. Keeping the weight off is just important to not focus on, not on the negativity. So like if you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm fat, you're going to manifest more of that. And so you really want to shift your focus onto, I'm healthy. And so that's the best way, or I eat the best food ever, or I drink the best, cleanest, purest water ever. And so when you shift onto that, then automatically you start manifesting more of that. And so that's what I try and do. So I try and the monkey mind gets you sometimes, because sometimes you'll walk past the mirror and you're like, damn, 10 pounds, right? But so you want to always pay attention to the thoughts and emotions that are in your mind and learn to, they show me a technique where you're pushing 2 buttons. So the emotion grid and the thought grid. And so your emotion grid comes from the heart. It is hexagonal in nature and it is blue. Your thought grid is in your mind. It's a dodecahedron and it's yellow. And so you put yellow and blue together and it forms the memory grid. That's icosahedron, he's saying. And so when you want to clear your thoughts and emotions and you have to do it on the fly. So let's say you're in the middle of doing something, right? So he had me push 1 button that was yellow, push 1 button that was blue. That's you're clearing your thought. Now you're clearing your emotions. Push them together and spin it. And so what you're actually doing is you're pushing your thought grid and your emotion grid together. And that's your memory complex. And then you're spinning it to release any darkness and density. And so any negative thoughts, it goes right into the Akashic records where it's stored on the grid and not in your physical form. So we could do that too, actually. So many people speak about downloads, and they're saying, because there's multiple, they're saying that you can download information, but you can also send information. And so this is a wonderful thing. Let's say, for an example, there's a memory that you have already healed. You can tell the memory, now go up into the Akashic, I no longer need you. And then all of a sudden, if you try and remember it, it'll be gone. Your higher self will block any memories that are not properly healed. So you have to heal the memory first. And then all of a sudden, You get rid of it. You don't need it anymore. We do this automatically. So think about something that's happened to you. You may have had an experience in grade school and you were very fired up about it. You got really upset. And then all of a sudden you let it go. And when you let it go, you healed it. And so what happens? It disappears from your mind. You're no longer needing that memory, so it gets stored on the grids. So we don't keep all memory inside of us. We have it in the energetics. It's tied into the Akashic records. And when you need something, it's pulling like a download. And so when the star people came in, they actually came and they did a full energetic clearing on me back in July. And so I was able to see how they pull at the memory grid, because the memory grid surrounds your body. When they pull it, let's say they pull an experiential. And so at the time I was drinking Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee. And so they pulled at that memory grid. And then all of a sudden it was like a flashback, and it was like, boom, every single time I had ever had an iced coffee. And it was at like a split second. And I had seen every single time I was at the drive-thru with my whipped cream and my caramel and all the stuff. And they were like, this is no more. And so they were like, you have to heal this, get rid of it, and don't drink coffee. And so that's what I did. But then, the memory, that whole memory complex, that portion gets cleaned. So you heal the memories, right? Anything that's an attachment needs to be healed. Whether you're attached to coffee, cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, paraphernalia, marijuana, it doesn't matter what it is. Food. And so some people are attached to food, some people are attached to shopping, gambling. And so all these things are attachments. And so not only that, it forms an energetic cord between you and that experiential. And so that's important to know, because there's lower vibrational beings who latch on to your energetics and push you so that you enjoy that attachment. And it doesn't matter which attachment it is. We've all come here with certain attachments that we have. And so when you learn that, then all of a sudden you have to clear the lower vibrational attachment, the being, you clear that, heal the paper cut from that, and then all of a sudden you release the attachment to the physical. When you release any and all attachments to the physical, and you primarily hold the frequency of love and light and acceptance, non-judgmental, and you see every experience as if a direct reflection of something that you needed to have in order to assist your evolution. That's very important, because you can get angry and upset at people, but when you take a look at the experience and you're like, oh, how is that going to benefit me? Right? So, that benefited me because now all of a sudden I learned something by witnessing you go through that. And so that's how. Now, a lot of times too, the star people are saying, when you have an experience, you often will see that experience through another perspective. And so let's take, for an example, my experience is very low frequency, so I don't want to bring any of those up. Let's say you have the coffee addiction, right? And so you're drinking all this coffee. Now all of a sudden you quit the coffee, you stopped it. But you may notice someone else in your life have that coffee addiction. And so now you get to see the perception of that addiction through someone else acting it out. That's how this works. That's a law of polarity as well. Because you're going to see from this perspective, and then you're going to see from the outside perspective. And so it does not necessarily have to be somebody in your physical life. You could witness it on a TV show. And so, but you're still witnessing someone else's perception of the same exact experience of what you've been through. And so this happens naturally. That's part of it, because you see from two different aspects. Now, just realize that there's that duality all across this reality. And so you take a look at the earth, we have this dimension, but we also have the mirror dimension. It's a mirror of earth, except one's a positive polarity, one's a negative. And then that's actually branched into 4. And so it's just different physics in each and every reality. So when you start to see that, and then the mirror is also, there's a reason that they call it the mirror dimension. And that's because you can see into the opposite polarity by using the mirrors. And so you want to just be very careful and aware of that, and so take a look at this, because they can make a mirror in a positive polarity, but the ones that we're using are negative polarity. And so most common, the mirrors in your house, like make a smile face and see. You won't see your eyes light up in the mirror. And so you won't see that sparkle, that shine in your eyes. Now you take a mirror and you make an angry face in the mirror, right? Okay. You're going to see darkness inside the mirror more prominently than you'll see light. Now, they have a way of manufacturing the mirror so it shows us the light. And so when you look into that mirror, you can see a brightness in the person. You can see the soul form is what that is, actually. And so just be aware. Now, in the future, the star people said all of the mirrors that we use are going to be light encoded. And so many people have also, the star people are saying many people have orbs come through the mirrors because they are dimensional portals. And so just be aware. Now, some people, if you don't feel safe in your house with the mirror, that's because something icky is going on inside of it. It's just icky. So take a piece of selenite, wave it over the mirror and say, thank you for protecting. And so the star people are saying that somebody watching this needs to hear that. Otherwise, I normally wouldn't bring things like that up. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? And it's 114, 44. See, 144 is a frequency code that each and every one of us can unlock. That's 12 times 12 is 144. So when you start unlocking your energetic grids, it turns you into 144 on the frequency scale, which then in turn allows you access into 5D. That's the whole secret. Be love and light. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. Any more? Obsidian mirrors. Yeah, you can use that. The frequency of the crystal is very good. So you've been noticing sugar is definitely an attachment. It's definitely. And it's crazy ridiculous because it's in the bubble gum. Like, I'm not supposed to eat sugar, and I've been eating this bubble gum, and like, I love it. And the star people like, there's sugar in it. You're going to have to give it up. Yeah. The sugar triggers you. And so not only that, but all processed sugar. And I was all like, go organic, right? And the star people were like, no. So that sugar, the way it's processed by the body, something to do with the kidneys, and it's not the same as the sugar from fruit. And so they have been telling me you have to give up all the sugar for me, not for everyone, for me. And so give up all the sugar and just eat the fruit. And so, yeah. How did me? Oh, let me see. Yellow is blue is teal. It's becoming easier. Earth spirit. Anything about that? Yes. Earth spirit is amazing. And so you can actually make a whole communication with Mother Earth. And so we do not realize the true connection that we have to Mother Earth. And I'm telling you firsthand, you can telepathically connect with every single plant. And not only that, the plants are all connected through a root system. So you can touch the leaf of one plant that is buried in the ground in the earth, not really the ones in the house, or they can still do it telepathically, but it's much stronger with Mother Earth and her plants. And you touch the leaves or you hug a tree. I'm not hugging a tree because the ants could get you, but you can hug a tree, touch the tree, and then all of a sudden you have to close your eyes. And so, because most of us, when our eyes are open, I asked this stuff, why do I have to close my eyes? He's saying, when your eyes are shut, you are shutting out the physical reality and you're using or activating your extra senses. And so when you touch the plant, you can feel the electrical magnetism. So you start asking her questions. What are some plants that I need to heal my physical form? And I just saw something in my room. I don't know what that was. Okay. So you can touch the plant. And so, okay, everything's fine. It was just like a silhouette of something in my room. So weird. It's just crystal. Okay. Everyone send prayers. So you touch the plant and you can feel or sense the energetics from the plant. And so when you do this, then all of a sudden you can ask it questions like, okay, what plants do I potentially need to heal my physical form? And then all of a sudden you'll get a thought in your mind. And so that thought could come like a bright idea, they're saying. And so you just have to allow what is to come. And when you allow all of this information, it is a form of telepathy between you and Mother Earth. You do not have to even be outside. So some people who are sick and they are unable to get outside, close your eyes and talk to Mother Earth because you are still in her energetic field and you are still connected to her. Some of you, the ascended masters, may have come into this place holding on and walking through so much darkness that so on the rarest cases you put a shade in front of your heart. And so shades in front of your heart, it's like a blackness or a density that tends to block off any love-based emotions from being transmitted through the heart chakra. Remember, it's in the front. Now, many times this is done at a trauma and it's done to protect yourself. It happens automatically. So when you say something like, I'm taking myself off the grid, right? That type of shade can form. And so you shouldn't say that because it's not healthy. And when that happens, though, then all of a sudden you can tune into Mother Earth's grids, and you can just imagine a green cord coming out of your heart chakra right through that shade and plug it directly into the grass. You do not have to go outside. You could do it in your conscious mind. Each one of the chakras, we can pull a cord out and plug it into Mother Earth and thank her for rebalancing our chakra system. And so that's another way of coming about using Earth energies to fully heal the chakra system. Now, the chakra system is directly tied into your perception. And so when you are perceiving a distortion in your physical reality, so let's say you're having financial issues, you know automatically it's going to be a problem in the root chakra. So take that root chakra. You could do this 2, 3, 10 times a day. It doesn't matter. Take it, pull a red cord out and see it, plug it into Mother Earth and thank her for healing you. What's actually going to happen, if you took the inappropriate camera technology, you'd be able to see the cord. And then you'd be able to see Mother Earth pulsing energy into your grid. And she'll do this. She'll heal each and every one of us because we are her children. But our consciousness is directly connected to her. So there is going to come a day and age in which we're able to take full conscious control of the planet. And so what this means is it doesn't mean that you're actually taking control. It kind of does, but it's more like, I love you, you love me. We know we're one organism. And so you're going to activate unity consciousness, which unity consciousness means every single finger on the hand realizes that we're just one hand. And so now we're going to start to work together to do what's right for every single finger. And so it's a level of separation that it's gone. And all of a sudden you start working together as one. That's what's going to happen on Mother Earth. And so when that happens, all of the people on Mother Earth, we're still going to perceive our experience from our own perception. However, we're going to know that we are one and we're going to become super strong. And so that's unity consciousness. We're on the timeline in which that manifests. These kind of conversations is exactly what manifests that into our life. And so we should be having more and more of these conversations and really talking about what's possible, what's capable, what can we do, right? How do we do it? How do we activate the extrasensory abilities? What focus do I have to put? How do I feel? Because my emotions is what manifests. So if I can fine tune my emotions, even if I have to let out some anger once in a while, let it out, because if the anger came out of you, it means that you had a blockage somewhere. And so that anger was an indication of a blockage that you needed to heal. And so if you experience anger, let it out and then go back inside and figure out why. Why did I feel that way? Why was this being brought to my attention now? And so why was I allowed to be triggered? How do I feel about being triggered? You were meant to be triggered because you needed to get triggered because you needed to evolve and grow from it. So that means that there was a blockage that you had to go back in, send love and light, and really heal something inside of you. Now, you should be pulling at the memory grid anytime that you have a trigger. Why? When was the first time I ever experienced that? And when can I allow that experience to be healed? Because when I heal that first experience, it changes who I am in the now moment, which allows me to be more love and light, crystalline in my nature. That's what they're saying. Yeah, let me see. Can we plug all the chakras to Mother at once? I usually do each one differently. And so I do each one differently just because I like to place full attention and focus. But yeah, you can do, just my opinion, like when I do all at once, I know it's not right, but I feel like I'm lazy. Like, hurry up, do them all at once, right? So I like to just take the time. And now even when I do the energetic clearings on people, I used to go super fast, right? And to stop people, like, you can't do that. They're like, slow down, right? Because even in your meditation, you can't go super fast. That doesn't work. And so you have to. See, that energy feels a whole lot different. And if people aren't paying attention to you, you should always get really quiet because you'll notice it shifts the energy. And so that's what we do is we shift the energy. Now, when you come to a place of peace, then all of a sudden your fight or flight system, everything starts to relax. And so anytime that you are feeling stressed or anger or any of that, take the 3 breaths, just breathe, right? Whenever I do this, I focus on Mother Earth and the positive aspects. Anybody who's ever seen the Earth Song by Little Dicky, right? So anytime I'm doing a session or anything on you guys and I want to like activate my heart chakra, I'm focused on that song because I see him flying with all the animals and the waterfalls and all this wonderful stuff. And so, yeah, you could do that too because it's wonderful. And then like me and the kids sing it. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, let me just see. Okay. I can't read that whole big message. That's just too much. I can't, it's too far away from me. This is so true. Plants can heal. The energy is so real. Yeah, I caught a live. Welcome. Yeah, I started doing the 4:00 live for my overseas people because some people are like, we can't be up until 8 o'clock at night. It's too much. So yeah, I try and go at 4. You guys will see the notifications. Now, we are using the Restream app. So the Restream app, it puts a notification, but I don't think it allows you guys to get the notifications to your phone. I'm not really sure. Somebody complained about it. So I'm not sure. But yeah, just keep in the back of your head. Tuesday, Thursdays, 8 o'clock p.m. I normally go on. I believe Monday, Wednesday, I'm trying to do 4 o'clock. Sometimes I can't do both. I'll try because I do homeschool my 2 kids. So it's nice. Are there any more questions? Because we're getting to the hour and a half point and we wrap it up soon. I keep seeing the musical clef sign in my meditation. Are there any messages around that? So anytime you're seeing music, and this is actually funny because I had one of my good friends who follows me on Facebook. She's a color person. And so the star people had told her that she's using the color to manifest. And so you're using the music to manifest. This is what you have an attunement to, probably. Definitely the star people were saying. And so when you have an attunement to music, that basically means that you can embody the musical frequency to make changes or modifications into your biological frequency range. Each and every one of us can do this. However, when you start to play a musical instrument or activate music or even play around with that ability, you could actually end up doing things like projection of frequency of a musical note, which can potentially have an effect like they're showing me like a laser burning through metal. And so when you start to learn the frequency codes to different notes, it's going to give you abilities along that line. Except there's more abilities than that because the frequency can also be used for anti-gravity, they're saying, levity. And so really just dive deep and unpack that. Oh, because they just said that you could even potentially be healing people with frequency technology. That starts with musical notes. Like cancer, the violin heals cancer. And so, yeah, that's pretty cool. That makes so much sense. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Excellent. Thank you so much. I love you guys too. You're absolutely amazing. Music of the spheres. Yeah. The ancient people knew this too because they had different like the channel things that look like this, like the Roman channel things. And then there were different portions on it that they would spin. And it was like, it made musical notes. So just imagine what their archaeology was like back then, where you could be walking through and then all these different frequencies were spinning around. And then that frequency was hitting your physical form and it was healing you. And so it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. To me, I find all this amazing. And then not only that, but they have the free energy technology as well. And so the free energy technology, they found actually, they took satellite imagery of the earth and they took a look at all these Roman buildings and all this stuff. And guess what they can compare it to? To a computer motherboard. Mind blown. So these ancient people, they were setting up all of their buildings in the same exact formation as a computer. And what kind? They were using rocks. Those rocks were magnetic in their nature. And so how high was their level of technology? They had free energy devices. They had a world government, all this stuff. Like they had anti-gravity because you see different ley lines and different meridian lines on the earth. They all have little pyramids and all sorts of these buildings. And so those are energy vortex nodes, by the way. So when you see a ley line and a meridian cross, that circle inside the cross, that's an energy vortex. So that's what actually connects into the human consciousness grid. Now, it is known that you can control the human consciousness grid with certain technological devices on each one of those nodes. And so we do see a lot of light workers who are vortex workers and grid workers who come here in order to diffuse And so many people, they go into the pyramids in their conscious mind, they send it love and light, and they allow their energetics to activate the pyramid. So if you took a look in the ethers, or you took a look at the energy, so we can't really see the energy with our eyes. We have to use technology. Some people can see it though. Some people can see auras. Some people can see the frequency of different crystals. And so this is part of the extrasensory ability range. Some people came here to activate the pyramids, activate the meridian and the ley line nodes. It's called a node. And so, yeah, when you start to realize and we start to clean up the planet, even the planet itself has a chakra system. And so the Kundalini energy in the planet, it shifts. And so this is why we've seen the spirituality, like the pineal gland was activated in like Tibet for a while. And so that node is starting to shift. And so Mother Earth, she has energy chakras and they shift. Yeah, it's so amazing to see, because when you become scientifically aware, then you can start to project where's the chakras of the earth going. And so, and then you'll start to see hotspots. And so there's certain areas of Mother Earth that you'll be drawn to, and you'll be drawn to the location code because that energy will pulse you and it will change you, and it may download information into you. It may heal something into you. Some people go to certain locations and they can't stand the frequency and they have to leave right away. And so this happens. And so we are beings of light and sound frequency. And so when we hit a certain frequency range and it's not in alignment with us, maybe we're holding too much density. And so if you go into a certain location, you may get sick. Now, let's say you're extremely high frequency and you go into a very toxic or low frequency environmental. All of a sudden, you probably get a little scared and worried because you don't belong there, right? And so the universe will find a way to put you back in the higher frequency range. That happened to me when I was a kid. Yeah, excellent. Let me see. I use singing bowls to raise vibrational frequencies. It is absolutely great. And so I actually went to a drum circle. One of my friends from Long Island did. And so they were beating on the drums. Everyone was in a circle and they went around, and I swear it rattled you. And it was like, oh, but you felt so rejuvenated after you were done. And so you can use singing bowls with that, right? And so drumming, flutes, all sorts of, and then not only that, but you can change your consciousness. Now, the Indians and the ancient people, they used to do fire dances. And so they had a giant fire and everyone would dance, but they would zone themselves out while they were dancing. And so that allowed them to expand their consciousness, and it allowed them to open up to higher frequency ranges. That's also how they were able to make contact and communication with their angel guides. And so many times you have to be a frequency match in order to allow the communication to fully form. So yeah, just be aware. It's cool. And tuning forks, they're incredible. Yeah, I could do that. Excellent. So thank you guys. We're at an hour and a half. Oh, I'm just going to go over this really quick. Let me just see. Let me see. These are all my questions that everyone sends in. It's so amazing. You guys have, yeah, if anyone has any questions, please just send them over to the DanielleLipton.com website. There's a little box in the right-hand corner that lets you guys send a message directly to me. Any questions at all, I write them in my notebook, then I deal with them on the lives. I answer them on the lives. The better the questions, the better the lives. Don't be shy. Send in your questions, even if you have 100. Okay, so we did get a whole bag of keychains, and they're crystal keychains. Actually, let me just do that. Okay. These are the most awesomest thing I have ever seen. And so somebody sent these in for the crystal package. And they have wonderful little hearts and stars. There's like 1,000 in here. And this woman sat there and she made all of these. See them? And so we are going to be adding a couple of these into the crystal boxes. The crystal boxes are big. They are not one crystal in a box. They are the box with as many crystals as I could pour into it, because I was not expecting the amount of abundance with these crystals as we have received. And so thank you guys so incredibly much for sending them in. Anyone who wants to send more, we are going to jam pack every single crystal box full of crystals. And so they get really heavy. It's so much fun. So it's Danielle Lipton, P.O. Box 56, Emmaus, Pennsylvania, 18049. Anybody who sends in crystals, you guys are going to get an inner Zoom session link. And so we do 2 group Zoom sessions twice a month. And so everyone in that Zoom gets to ask questions. And so, yeah, you guys get to interact with me one-on-one. And so it's a $40 value or $49 value, whatever. And so, yeah, you guys can come, join us, hang out with us. I do also offer sessions. So that's at daniellelipton.com under book of product. Something like that. But the sessions, actually, we were running a Black Friday sale. So we're going to keep that for one more week. This way, everyone has the opportunity to book a session in at like Christmas prices. So we give you guys a discount. So in another week's time, the price does go back up. So yeah, it's excellent. There's Allie. Allie does morning meditations. And so she's really great. So she does it every single morning, I believe. So that's another one that's on daniellelipton.com. Thank you guys so incredibly much for liking, sharing, and following. And then we also have an email subscription list at daniellelipton.com. In case there's any censorship, if you put your email over there, I'll be able to still communicate with you. And so I also send out specials, and I'm a big giver. So I like to give stuff away. And I'm a firm believer in we share and we care about each and every person. And so, yeah, like I started giving out affirmation cards. So I have people's addresses when they buy stuff, and I'm just like, put it in. Yeah, it's cool. And so also on Facebook, we have Star People Group. That's a group I started because if my profile ever gets censored, I could go right into Star People Group and I can still post out my downloads. This way you guys have full access to my information. So you guys hear the way I speak. There's over 500 posts that I put on Facebook at treeoflifeorganization.com, as well as the Danielle Lipton Facebook profile. And so I posted out in both places and the Star People group. And so when you go to those places, you can read all the different posts, which dives into each and every one of these topics at a more intricate, detailed length. And so, yeah, even the posts, like just rereading over them, it's just, they blow me away. So the information is very necessary for this evolutionary shift. I think so. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Jacqueline, for recommending my sessions. You're amazing. Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And many, many love and blessings. And you guys have a good night and happy holidays.